Hello everyone. Welcome to the recap video of ICAR JRF 2023. My name is Rounak and I got All India rank 5 in this ICAR JRF 2023. So without wasting any time, let's just dive right into it and analyze the questions. Alright, so starting with the first question, this is a easy question from the pedology section. And here you can see that they have asked to arrange the minerals based on the descending order of weatherability. That is from the higher to the lower weatherability. All right. So in the last, it will be the mineral with the least weatherability, and in the first, it will be the mineral with the highest weatherability. That is the easiest to weather. All right. So here in this question, let's solve this by the elimination process. So here in this option B, we can see that it is totally wrong because olivine cannot be in this series later than zircon. So B is gone. Whichever option having B, we can cut that out. And well, here you go. We have our first answer, and that is only A. So biotite, then augite, then garnet, and then quartz. This is the correct answer. If we see the other options also, we can see the same problem. Olivine is here in the last. That is not possible. Olivine is the most weatherable and it should have been in the first. And similarly, option D is also wrong. All right. Moving on to the next question. This is an assertion reasoning question and you have to read the question very carefully. So let's dive into it. Soil clay has maximum influence on soil behavior. This is true. This is a perfectly true and correct statement. And the reason for this is clay has greater surface area per unit mass, that is specific surface area, and is most physico-chemically active. This is also a perfectly true statement because we know clay is also known as the flesh of the soil. It is the flesh of the soil matrix and it is responsible for all the influence on the soil behavior. It has the greatest specific surface area and it is also most physically active. So A and R both are correct and R is the correct explanation of A. Alright. So moving on to the next question. So this question they have asked directly from the ITS, old ISSS, if you can see. So they're asking, suppose root, straw and grains of a wheat crop produce dry matter of atho and atho containing this much nitrogen respectively. How much total N uptake by the above ground portion? So here you have to just simply multiply each portion the percentage. Say 2.5 is roots, so 2.5 into 0.2. Anyhow, I think you have read the question. They are asking for above ground portion, so this one will go off. This one and this one is off. Then for straw, it is 6 tons per hectare, so it will be 6 into 0.5, that is 3, and then 4 into 1.5 is 6. All right. So 6 plus 3 is equal to 9. Fine. So in kg per hectare, it will be 90 kg per hectare. All right. In the above ground portion, they have only asked the above ground portion. So the root portion is cut off and 0.5% of 6, that is 0.5 by 100 into 6, that is 3 by 100, and this will be 6 by 100, but there will be tons per hectare. So when we are converting it into kg per hectare, we have to multiply it with 1000, and if I multiply it with 1000, we will get 60 plus 30, that will be equal to 20. All right. This is a very easy one. It's no problem to solve it. Let's move on. So in the next question, soil water content in the increasing order. This question is from soil constancy portion. This is a dynamic property of soil. So this is also a really easy one from the soil physics or soil water, you may say, and you have to read it very thoroughly. So in the increasing order means the soil water content uh, showing the least will come first, and the soil water content having the maximum value will come at the last. So we know the least soil water content is in oven dry condition where the pF value is almost 7, right? So it will start with B. So we can cut off, eliminate option 1 and 4. And after override, it will come hygroscopic, of course, hygroscopic PF around 4.5. And then will come permanent wilting point. It has PF around 4.12, 4.2. You will find it many values in many areas. And finally, capacity having PF around 0.5. Okay. So the correct option will be B, C, D, A. B, C, D, A. This is the correct answer. Option 2. Right. Let's move on. Next question. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Incorrect. You have to be very careful while reading the question. You cannot miss this. Incorrect. They are asking incorrect. So this is a question 5 molecules section, and as I told you in my previous 2024 recap video, you have to be very thorough about biomolecules. It's better if you read it from NCERT or any other textbooks, and you can expect at least 4 to 5 questions, and if you're fortunate, then like 2022 paper, you might get 10 to 12 questions also from biomolecules. So if you are thorough with biomolecule, you will correctly answer all of those, and you can have a very good rank. So which of the following statement is correct? They are asking. So let's read statements. Amylose is a water soluble fraction of starch. This is correct. Amectin is water insoluble fraction of starch. This is also correct. Alpha glucose units are present in amylose and amectin. This is also correct. Amylose is water insoluble fraction of starch. This is wrong. Here is in the same question they have said amylose is water soluble fraction. Amylose is water soluble fraction. So option 4 becomes the correct answer. They have asked incorrect, right? Still, let's check this one. 610 is 4, right? Okay. Moving on to the next question. Very easy math following. You have to match the name of the science along with what they have discovered. So first, even if you don't know all the name of the list or all the options, match the following has got the beauty that you can solve it even if you are doing 1 or 2, like if you are fortunate enough. So let's dive into it. We know Gradsky isolated the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So B1, here is only one option with B1, and that will be our correct option. We don't have to check the others. Still, you should know. And here you should remember the name of the scientist, and you can prepare it thoroughly for upcoming examinations. Like say, they might ask something discovered by James Wilson, something discovered by R.H. Painter in a different question this year. So you should read the name of these scientists along with what they discovered. So James Wilson will be hybrid wheat. Vinogradsky is nitrogen fixing bacteria. R.H. Painter is host plant resistance, and SS Baines is relay cropping. So you should know these theories, and you might never know, you will get a question in the upcoming examination from this maybe. So let's move on. Characteristic feature of minerals are, so you have to choose the correct answer from the options, and you have to consider the following statements where they are saying characteristic features of minerals are. So this is a question from pedology, and you have to be very thorough about pedology, as I always say. So let's dig into it. Minerals by definite chemical composition. This is absolutely true. Minerals are inorganic in nature. Again, true. The atoms that make up minerals are not arranged in an orderly pattern. This is wrong. Minerals are the building blocks of rocks. This is also true. So the correct answer will be A, B, and D only, whereas C is the incorrect statement, right? From here, this is a very good question of the pedology section, of the mineral section, where they have covered almost all the aspects. Still, I would suggest you study thoroughly the minerals, what are primary minerals, secondary minerals, how they are formed, which mineral forms which rocks, the difference between rocks and minerals, and the proper definition of minerals. I would suggest you be really thorough about it, and it might help you. So let's move on. Another question of match the following from the mineral nutrition chapter. Mineral nutrition chapter is also very important from the examination point of view, as you can always get 2 to 3 questions at least every year, and if you are fortunate enough, you might get 7 to 8 questions as well. So you have to read thoroughly all the essential nutrients, macronutrients, micronutrients among the macro, primary nutrients, secondary nutrients, and everything, and their most important function. As you can see here, they have asked to match the following from the function. So let's dig into it. Molybdenum, we know, is an essential component of the nitrogenase enzyme, and it is absolutely necessary for nitrogen fixation, right? Magnesium, we know, is the centrally located atom, or it is related with the central structure of chlorophyll in plants, right? It is the centrally located atom in chlorophyll structure. And then manganese, we know, is related to oxidation of water, hydrolysis of water, photolysis of water, splitting of water in the presence of light in photosynthesis that releases oxygen. So manganese is necessary for that, and zinc is necessary for oxygen synthesis, as it is a necessary for the precursor synthesis of oxygen, that is tryptophan. All right. So this one was an easy one, but you have to be very thorough about all the functions. So let's check the options. A will be 3, B will be 1, and option 2 is the correct option, right? A3, B1, C2, and D4. All right. Moving on. Another match the following question. They're asking the measurement procedures along with the soil parameters. This is also from soil physics. And so soil physics always draws the a huge number of questions, and you have to be very thorough about it. So let's dig into the question. Here bulk density will go with cesium 137, because you know cesium 137 is used in gamma ray attenuation method or gamma ray scanner, gamma ray apparatus, whatever you might say. So in that, they can measure the thickness, the bulk density of the soil, and also the water content of the soil. So if one of the three variables are known, then if two of the three variables are known, then we can find out the third variable. Like there are three variables, and if you know two variables out of it, then the third variable can be calculated through gamma ray attenuation method. So here bulk density they have asked. Actually, you can find it in the soil moisture content measurement section, the indirect method of soil moisture content measurement in the IEEE book. But here they have cleverly changed it to bulk density. So you must know that the working principle of the gamma ray scanner and how it works and how cesium 137 is used in that. And not only water content, but bulk density can also be found through it. So the soil water content, this will be americium beryllium, because you know americium beryllium is used in neutron moisture meter, neutron probe, that can only measure the soil moisture content by measuring the thermalized neutrons, the fast moving neutrons after colliding with the hydrogen atoms of water molecule. They slow down. They are called thermalized neutrons. The process is called thermalization, and these thermalized neutrons comes and hits the detector of boron trifluoride, and from this detector, this boron trifluoride enriched with boron, after the thermalized neutron hits the boron, it produces an alpha particle. This alpha particle provides an electrical impulse or electrical signal in a fixed period of time that will tell you the amount of moisture present in the soil. So you have to be very thorough about the theory of the instruments, how they work, the principle of the instruments. And seepage will be measured by deuterium. You know, this is a radioactive study. Deuterium is a radioactive isotope of hydrogen H2, and this is called marking. Like you can study the seepage, the movement of water inside the soil by using deuterium that you cannot measure with the normal hydrogen atom. And soil salinity can be measured with, of course, Cl36. This is also similar, like chlorine 36, also a radioactive isotope, and that can be used in the soil salinity studies. Like you can mix it, you can use it there, and the radioactive isotope will stand out from the other Cl atoms, which is Cl35.5 normally. So 35.5 is the atomic weight, 35 is the mass number, and finally soil aggregation can be measured by C13 isotope of carbon. All right, so here you have to be very thorough about all these parameters and how they are measured and what is the working principle of all of it. And so let's see the options. A5, there is only one option, so option 1 is correct. This was an interesting question, a bit difficult also, but nothing to worry about. If you are thorough with your theoretical knowledge, you can very easily do this. Seepage studies require to track the movement of water. Water contains H plus ions or hydrogen atoms. So if you use H2, the radioactive isotope of hydrogen, then you can study that. And soil salinity requires the study of chlorine atoms. So if you use radioactive isotope of chlorine, that is Cl36, then also you can study the soil salinity parameters. All right, let's move on to the next question. And for aggregation, you know, carbon is necessary, organic carbon, and C12 is the original carbon atom, whereas C13 is its radioactive isotope. So that can also be used for studying the soil aggregation. All right, let's move on. Order the following electromagnetic radiation in terms of their decreasing energy level. So from the highest energy level to the lowest energy level, right? So we know there are three parameters: wavelength, then frequency, and then it is energy, right? So higher the wavelength, lower is the frequency, lower is the energy, and lower the wavelength, higher is the frequency and higher the energy. So you just have to arrange these rays according to their wavelength and you will get the answer. So in the decreasing energy level means first the highest energy level will come, and in the last the lowest energy level will come. That means the ray with the lowest wavelength or the highest frequency will come first, and with the highest wavelength will come at the last. So here gamma rays we know having the lowest wavelength and the highest frequency among these four options. So B will come first. After that it will be of course visible rays, because if you have to know the electromagnetic spectrum, what comes after what. And after that it will be infrared rays, and finally it will be radio waves having very high wavelength but very less energy. So the correct answer will be BCAD, that is option 2. All right, let's move on. This is a very good question from the electromagnetic spectrum, and this type of questions are very common. If you can check the previous year papers and analyze, so you have to be ready for this type of questions. Let's move on. Which of the following is an amino acid? Well, this one was a wrong question, I remember, because in the option you can see all four are amino acids. So you can mark any of the four and that will be a correct option. I'll show you the official answer key also. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, all are correct. So you can choose anything. I think the question originally they wanted to give was maybe which of the following is an aromatic amino acid or branched amino acid, but I don't know what happened. Which of the following is an amino acid, and all four is an amino acid. So anything you mark is correct option here. So we will go with say glycine, right? Glycine is very popular, so let's go with it. Moving on to the next question. This is again another very important question. Soil water conservation, and this is an assertion reasoning type question. So here you can see in assertion they are saying that universal soil loss equation is A is equal to RKLSCP. This is true. This is a true statement, correct. And the reason they are saying is universal soil loss equation determination for the reduction of soil erosion to tolerable limits necessitates the adoption of properly planned cropping practices and soil conservation measures. Universal soil loss equation determination for the reduction of solution to limits is the adoption. This is also a true statement, but it is very difficult to find any relation among the two statements. So I think option 2 will be the correct option. The correct answer will be option 2. Still, we can check once. 526, they have given option 1. So universal soil loss equation is A equal to RKLSCP, and the universal soil loss equation determination for the reduction of soil erosion. Well, I think you guys know the examination agency, and there will be some vague questions, some disputable, doubtful questions like this. Here, if you can read the question properly, the correct answer should be option 2, but here in the official answer key, they have given option 1. So, all right, we have to go with option 1, but actually, if you see, there does not stand any that much of a relation that we can say it's assertion and reasoning. All right. because like how these two statements are getting related, that for this reason the universal soil loss equation is this, that does not come true, right? It's not. All right, let's move on to the next question. This is a doubtful one. So another match the following. Match the following questions are easy and you have less doubt about this type of questions. So here we have to match the name of the author along with the book they have written. So Rachel Carson, we all know it is there in the NCERT, class 11, 12th NCERT also, and we all know it is there in any standard agriculture, general agriculture book. So Rachel Carson wrote the Silent Spring, right? S. Buell is a very prominent author in the field of pedology, and he wrote Soil Genesis and Classification. All right, Humphrey Davy was an agricultural chemist who wrote Elements of Agricultural Chemistry, and Theophrastus wrote Natures of Plant. So the correct option will be option 2, A4, B1, C2, and D3. All right, let's move on to the next question. So you have to arrange the following space missions from earlier to most recent. This is a question from remote sensing, GIS, and GPS. So this question is very important from the point of view of JRF, and you have to be very thorough about this type of questions. This question you might not find in any book. So you have to consult the newspapers and the websites, and you have to be regularly updated about this. And I can say you that in JRF 2023, they have asked a lot of questions from remote sensing and GIS, and it was the critical rank deciding factor that year. So here we have to arrange the following space mission from earlier to most recent, which was the earliest one will come first and the most recent one will come last. So Indian national satellite, here you have to know this question. You cannot use your concept or anything for marking this. So D will come first, Indian national satellite. Then A will come second, radar imaging satellite 1. Then finally, it will be Mars orbital mission. And I think Chandrayaan 2, you might know, it was very recent. It was in the papers, all over the papers. So using that, you might say that B will be the last option. So here option 4 is the only one that is having B as the last. So with that concept, you can attempt this, but otherwise, you have to know this. There is no other way. So option 4 will be the correct option. So moving on to the next question, this is a very easy one, really easy one. This is about the general agriculture, you might say, and you have to match the name of the institute along with where they are situated, where their headquarters are situated. So let's dive into it. IISS, we all know, Indian Institute of Soil Science. It is present in Bhopal, just beside CIAE, that is Central Institute of Agricultural Engineering. IIHR, we know it is in Bangalore, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, and CRIDA is in Hyderabad. CRIDA is for the Central Research Institute for Dryland Agriculture, and finally CASRI is Central Arid Zonal Research Institute, that is in Jodhpur. Interestingly, these all four are now IRI hubs. I think you all know IRI Mega University hubs. IISS is the Bhopal hub, where the soil science is very strong. IIHR Bangalore hub, that is the main hub of Bangalore, and CRIDA is in Hyderabad. Hyderabad having the main institute as CRIDA, and in Jodhpur also they have started in CASRI, the Jodhpur hub, where the agronomy, soil science, these faculties are really strong. So from this year only, this hub system started. Like the 2023 pass outs got into the hubs. Like me, I am studying in CRRI Cuttack hub, and similarly, all these are hub institutes. So this question you must know. This might be repeated this year also. You never know. So let's see the option. It will be option 2, A4, B2, C1, and D3. All right. Moving on. The equation governing flow of water in saturated soil. This is a very flat and straight question from soil water, and we all know the answer of this. That will be Darcy's law, Darcy's equation, right? Which says the flux of water flowing across a plane of unit area per unit time is proportional to the hydraulic gradient. All right, in one dimension, this is the simplest form of the equation where K is the hydraulic conductivity, Q is the flux, and this part is the hydraulic gradient. All right. Let's move on to the next question. What type of covalent bonds link the amino acids in a protein? Another question from biomolecules. As I am repeatedly telling you, you have to be very thorough about it. And the answer to this question, I think we all know, that is peptide bonds, right? Peptide bonds link the amino acids in a protein. Hydrogen bonds is present in water. It is the bond present between hydrogen atom and some electronegative atom like water mostly, which have a del negative charge, and H plus has a del positive charge. And glycosidic bonds are present in carbohydrates, like each monosaccharide molecules are bonded by glycosidic bonds to form a polysaccharide, oligosaccharide kind of that, and ester bonds are present in mostly fatty acids, right? So let's move on to the next question. In plants, the photoassimilates are translocated as sucrose. This is the classic example of why you should read all the options twice, why you should read the question twice. Because here, after seeing the first option, you'll be like, okay, sucrose is the correct answer, let's mark and move on. But you will get a big -1 for this because you did not read all the options correctly. You have to see sucrose is correct, sorbitol is correct, statiose is correct. So the correct option will be option 4, that is all of these. Very cleverly they have given it like this, and they have not written this all of these here, so it might miss your eyes also. All right, 611 is 4. So you have to be very careful and very thorough. Let's move on. Another match the following. This is also really easy one. This is a basic chemistry from class 8. So they are asking the element and the electronic configuration. So you have to know the atomic number. We all know magnesium is 12, sodium is 11, lithium is 3, and chlorine is 17. All right. So you can add up. 2 plus 1 is 3. So it will be lithium. C will be 1. Then 8 plus 2 is 10 plus 7 is 17. So chlorine will be 2. 2 plus 8 plus 1 is 11. That will be sodium. 2 plus 8 plus 2 is 12. That will be magnesium. So it will be A4, B3, C1, and D2. This is a really easy question, and this kind of questions, if you miss this question, then it will be a very heartbreaking thing because it might take your rank very much away from your desired rank, because these questions no one will ever miss, right? Everyone will mark this answer correctly. So for these questions, you have to be extra careful. For easy questions only, I think you should be extra careful, because if you are making a mistake in a easy and sitter question like this, then it will be very hard to regain the momentum back. All right. So let's move on to the next question. So which of the following theories are associated with humus formation? So this one is also from organic matter portion, and I think we all know this. Uh, Polyphenol theory is there. Lignin protein theory is there. This will be lignin. There is a printing mistake, you can see. Chemiosmosis theory is not related to humus formation, and sugar amine condensation theory is also related to humus formation. So it will be A, B, and D only. Option 1. Here, what you can read different, what you can else read is that you have to know the name of the scientists who gave this theory. Studying the theory in depth is not required or not necessary as per the syllabus of JRF, and I would not suggest you to do that. For this portion, for different types of questions for the upcoming examination, you can study the name of the scientists who gave the theory, who gave which theory. You can study like Stevenson, Kononova, Waxman, who is the who propounded which one. You can study that. All right, let's move on. So again, I'm asked the following question where you have to match the method along with the element or nutrient that is estimated. So let's dive into it. Geldal method, we know Geldal apparatus, Geldal method is used for measurement of nitrogen. So it is estimation of nitrogen. A is 4. Then Watley Black method is a very well-known, widely used method for estimation of soil organic carbon. And then hydrometer method, Buyuko's hydrometer method is used for estimation of sedimentation of soil particles. That is finally used for estimation of the soil texture. And finally, gravimetric method is the direct method for estimation of soil moisture. Thermogravimetric method or the gravimetric method, which is a destructive method. You have to take out the soil, you have to weigh it, and then you have to put it in oven, and then again you have to weigh it. And by this method, you can separate the soil and the moisture, and you can determine the moisture content. All right. So the correct option will be A4, then B3. So option 3 is the correct option. You have to be very thorough about the option because you might get confused. You can double check if you want, and then you can mark the correct option. All right, let's move on. Point out the mobile nutrients in soil. This is also a very easy question, but it's from mineral nutrition. So I think you are understanding how much effort you have to put for mineral nutrition, how much mind you have to put it into it. So the mobile nutrients in soil, mobile nutrients are mostly the anions as per the Bray's theory of nutrient mobility propounded in 1954. So here let's check which one has anions, but except phosphate anions, because phosphate anions are very quickly adsorbed on the soil colloids by process of ligand exchange, or also it gets precipitated after forming aluminium or ferrous phosphates, AlFe phosphates in acidic soil and Ca phosphates in the calcareous or the alkaline soil. So here in option B there is phosphate that is not mobile in soil, so we will cut it off. Then here option C is correct. Here in D, this is NH4 plus, this gets absorbed in the soil clay colloid, this is also incorrect. And here there are two cations, these two cations will also get absorbed into the soil clay colloid, which is negatively charged. So A will also not be there, so C only will be the correct answer, only C, right? Let's move on. The term infiltrability is coined by, this is a very sitter question from soil physics. You have to know it to know the answer. You cannot use your concept or anything here. So this is a very well-known question, and I think you should know infiltrability is coined by Daniel Hillel, who is the father of soil physics. From this portion, you should know what is infiltrability, who gave the term, and the related units associated with all these parameters. So let's move on. Another match the following question. This is also a theory proposed, and author, you have to match list 1 with list 2. So let's dive into it. Nutrient index we know was given by Parker. Father of fertilizer chemistry we know is Liebig. Liebig is also called father of agricultural chemistry, and he is also called father of chemical fertilizers, chemical fertilizer industry, father of fertilizer chemistry and everything, because he was the first one to uh, emphasize on the need of the fertilizers and how fertilizers can be produced, how superphosphates can be produced. And then root interception was given by Barber, we know, and weathering index was given by Jackson, which describes the weatherability of the minerals, that which one will be weathered first, which one will be weathered last, and which will happen at a faster rate and which will happen at a slower rate. So the correct option will be A3, B4, C2, and D1. All right, let's move on. The word soil has been derived from Latin solum, which means floor. All right, so it is a Latin word. You have to know this. This is a simple general agriculture question. You can find it in any book, any soil science book also you can find it. So it will be option 2. All right, moving on. The pH range at which the desirable color change occurs for a particular indicator is. This is also a question from analytical chemistry, soil analysis, and the correct answer of this will be PT. PT is also known as titration exponent. All right, you can find it in any standard analysis book, or also you can Google it. Titration exponent. It means the pH range at which the desirable color change occurs for a particular indicator. Because when you are using any indicator for seeing the endpoint of titration, that is not the proper theoretical endpoint. It is a range. Like no titration is 100% correct, right? Because it is not possible. Machine like precision is not possible for humans, and also the indicators are not 100% precise. So there is a pH range over which the color change occurs, and that is negligible. We can say, we can get an idea of how strong the acid or the base is if you are doing acid base titration. So the pH range over which this color change occurs is called titration exponent, or PT, PT value. All right, so option 4 is the correct option, right? So let's move on. Here are two statements, true false type of question. You have to say which is correct and which is wrong. So olivine is least stable. This is a true statement. We have no doubt about it. And secondly, olivine has independent silica tetrahedron and held together by forming bonds with hydrolyzable magnesium. There is printing mistake, magnesium or oxidizable iron. This is also a true statement because we know that is nesosilicate, which is having individual tetrahedrons like this, and it is held together by forming electrostatic bonds with the hydrolyzable magnesium or oxidizable iron ions, right? So both the statements 1 and 2 are correct. All right, let's move on. Microwave remote sensing is useful in monitoring. Okay, microwave remote sensing is useful in monitoring. This is a question from remote sensing and GIS. So soil moisture, we all know soil moisture can be easily denoted by microwave remote sensing because you know that microwave scattering method, and then canopy structure that can also be done. Then snow cover, yes, that can also be done. Then moisture profiling in the atmosphere, yes, that can also be done by microwave remote sensing. And finally, ocean circulation. Here there is a printing mistake. So ocean circulation that can also be seen by microwave remote sensing, and the correct option will be option 4. Let's check once. 557 is 4. Yeah, we are correct. So it will be A, B, C, and D, everything, all of the above, right? Ocean circulation can also be seen. You must see that all these parameters, all these are mostly soil surface or surface parameters. Even in ocean, circulation is a surface parameter. You can see it from above. So microwave remote sensing is useful in monitoring that because microwave backscattering method, it is mostly useful for up to 5 to 10 centimeter of the surface. And that is why moisture profiling in the atmosphere, snow cover, canopy structure, these things can be easily observed. But if you are finding out moisture profiling deep into the soil profile, that will not be possible because below 5 to 10 centimeter of the soil profile, microwave remote sensing won't work. All right, let's move on. Error in measurement caused by factors which vary with the measurements. This is a question from statistics, basic statistics. Error in measurement caused factors which vary with measurements. So here there is nothing associated with the researcher or the experimenter or anything else, any experimental condition. So there is simple error in measurement caused by factors which vary with each measurement. Like you just cannot quantify it, you just cannot rectify it by any means. So that is called a random error, right? You have to be very thorough about statistics. Anyhow, you have to read it in your MSc and PhD further, but still you have to be very thorough about basic statistics. So I would suggest you read any good quality general agriculture book, or you can just simply read any proper notes from a reputed university like TNAU or like that, or ISRI notes. So error in measurement caused by factors which vary with instruments is called random error, right? So moving on to the next question. Remote sensing of vegetation characteristics is obtained by using. So remote sensing of vegetation characteristics. Vegetation characteristics, we know the most important is NDVI. So for NDVI, we need visible light and infrared ray. So B and D, of course, will be there. So we will cut off whichever does not have B and D. So B and D is totally correct. And here only we studied 1 or 2 questions back that microwave is also needed. So microwave will also be there. So we can cut this option off. Now, will it be BCD and ABC and D? So UV rays are generally not used for studying vegetation characteristics because UV rays, I think, can penetrate the vegetation, but still here you just cannot use it for studying the vegetation characteristics for the canopy characteristics because UV rays are very high frequency and high energy waves, and they will just penetrate the leaves or the canopy structures, and you cannot use it for studying vegetation characteristics. So UV will not be there. So B, C, and D, option 4 will be the correct option. All right. We could have solved it very easily by seeing that all these 3 options have A. So we could have cut these 3 options and directly go for the fourth option. So moving on to the next question. Equivalent weight of a salt depends on, this is also basic chemistry, and basic chemistry question you should be very thorough either from NCERT or from any other standard textbook. So equivalent weight of a salt depends on, the answer will be option 1, number of equivalent weight of an acid that combine into the salt. Because basicity and acidity cannot be the answer here, because they have not said whether the salt is acidic or basic or neutral salt. So these three cannot be the case, and so number of equivalent weight of an acid that combines into the salt will be the equivalent weight of that salt. All right, let's move on. So here again you have to match the instrument along with the parameter that is used for its measurement. Like the instrument, it measures what, that you have to match from list 1 and list 2. So liquid limit device or Casagrande device we know is used for measuring soil plasticity. Then picnometer is used for measuring the specific gravity of the soil or the particle density of the soil, picnometers. I think you know this. Then Beaufort scale is used for measuring wind speed, and piezometer is used for measuring the depth of water table in a saturated soil. Also depth of water table, yes, in a saturated soil. How how much below the ground the water table is situated, that you can find out. So the correct option will be A2, and the option 2 is the right answer. All right, moving on. Arrange the following minerals in terms of increasing stability. You have to do it in terms of increasing stability. So the element that is highly weatherable, that will come first, low stability to high stability, and the mineral that is most difficult to weather will come last. Fine. So whichever is lowest, we can see here biotite, quartz, hornblende, muscovite. Quartz will be in the last because it is the most difficult to weather. So here we can see we have already got our correct answer, but still we will solve it. Hornblende, we know it is a sorosilicate. After neso, it is the sorosilicate. It is consisting of two tetrahedrons sharing only one oxygen. So that is the list table in the list. And after that, among biotite and muscovite, I think we all know that muscovite is more stable than biotite because biotite is ferromagnesian in nature, and muscovite is white in color. It is non-ferromagnesian, and the isomorphous substitutions are so strong that it is very stable, and the layers are collapsed, and you just cannot, weather or destabilize the structure. So after hornblende, it will be biotite, and after that it will be muscovite, and after that it will be quartz. So option 4 is the correct option. Let's move on. Again, another match the following question. Here you have to find the discovery and the discoverer of the theory or the whatever they have given in the list 1, who discovered that in the list 2. So let's dive right into it. Nutrient essentiality criteria. We all know nutrient essentiality criteria was given by Arnold and Stout. Arnold and Stout's criteria of essentiality. There are three criterias. You should read that very thoroughly, where they have said that how you can decide whether a nutrient element is essential for the plant or not. Then cell was discovered by Robert Hooke. We know this. Then stages of cell will be Walther Fleming. And finally, Khaira disease was reported in India for the first time by Y.L. Nene, right? So it will be A2. There is only one option with A2. So we can, this is a very easy one. A2, B4, C3, and then D1. All right, moving on. When structure of two soils is compared, it will be better in that soil whose cumulative mean wet diameter is, here this is a wrong question. You can see it will not be cumulative, it will be change, because CMWD is mostly expressed as change in mean wet diameter, change in MWD. The MWD that we calculate, that itself is a an index or a stability index for the soil structure, and their cumulative mean wet diameter, I have not heard of the term. So I think what they wanted to mean was change in mean wet diameter, and the correct answer will be lower. This statement is directly from the IEEE's book. Both in the old edition and the new edition you can find this statement. that for a certain range, it will be better the soil which is having lower value of change in mean wet diameter. And what is the change in mean wet diameter? Change in mean wet diameter is the difference in mean wet diameter uh, which were found out by wet sieving and dry sieving. So you will find a MWD by wet sieving, you will find another MWD by dry sieving, and the difference in these two values is the change in mean wet diameter. So whichever soil has a lower change in mean wet diameter, that means it is mostly stable in both the conditions. So that is why it is called, like, it is having similar stability in both wet sieving and dry sieving. So that is a better soil structure. So this is the correct option will be option 3, right? Let's move on. Question number 36. This is from problem soil section. So it's a true false type question. Let's see. Saline soil has a characteristic of EC 4 decisiemens per meter. True. ESP greater than 15 is totally wrong, and pH less than 8.5 is true. But since this portion is wrong, statement 1 is wrong. All right. Let's see statement 2. Alkaline soils have characteristics of EC greater than 4 decisiemens per meter. This is wrong. ESP less than 15. This is wrong. And pH greater than 15 is right, but this statement will be wrong. So both the statement 1 and statement 2 are false. Option 2 will be the correct option. Right? Let's move on. Mass of sample in picogram method. Picogram, you should know, 10 to the power minus 12. So mass of sample in picogram method, they are already saying that answer in the question only. So it will be less than 10 to the power minus 12 gram. That will be the mass of sample. All right. Let's move on. Water has maximum density at temperature. This is a very straight question from physical science, basic physical science of class 8. We know water has the maximum density at 4 degrees Celsius because of the hydrogen bonding in the liquid state of water. In solid state, water has a open cage like structure, and only 4 neighboring water molecules are hydrogen bonded with a single water molecule, whereas in liquid state it can be more than 5, more than 6 molecules are hydrogen bonded to a single water molecule. That is why the density gets very high. But 4 degrees Celsius, the density is highest. For Kelvin, we have to add 273 with it, because 273 Kelvin is equal to 0 degree Celsius. So 273 plus 4 will be 277 Kelvin, right? So option 2 will be the correct option. Let's move on. Match the following question. Here you have to match the theory proposed along with the author or the formula who gave the theory. So textural triangle, we all know, was given by Whitney. Then ideal gas equation, this is a basic class 8 question, PV equal to nRT, ideal gas equation. pH was given by Sorensen, Danish scientist, Danish chemist, we know. pH given in 1909. pH scale, negative logarithm of hydrogen ion activity in a solution. And finally, PF is was given by Schofield. This is used for measuring the water content in the soil. This is also a logarithmic expression of negative logarithm of the negative pressure column, that is denoted by height of water column in the soil. All right. So the correct answer will be A3, B4, C1, and D2. This match the following questions asked that year were really easy. Even if you know only one option, you can correctly mark this option, and there is no case of any doubt. So moving on to the 40th question. The science that deals with soil genesis and classification. This is a very, very, very well known and well asked question all over all the competitive examinations. And you can just by seeing the question, you can mark the correct answer, and it will be pedology. You have to be very careful because they have given all the similar types of words. So you should double check. This is petro, this is pedago, and this is petrogra. So pedology, option 2 will be the correct option. All right, let's move on to the next question. The strategic research extension plan. This is a question from agricultural extension, and you have to read agricultural extension because at least 2 to 3 questions comes every year, and you have to be properly thorough about it. So this, for extension questions, you cannot use your concept. Like, rarely you can use your concept. So you have to know the answer to know mark it correctly. So here this is a very well known and well formulated question that SREP is related with Atma, Agricultural Technology Management Agency. Atma. Atma is the correct answer. All right. From this portion, I would suggest that you read all these four institutes. You read about all these four institutes. Here they have again done a spelling mistake. So you read about all the four institutes, what are their mandates, what they do, where their headquarters are situated, what is the need for these institutes, what is the function, and you might expect one or two questions in your upcoming examination. So moving on to the next question, another question from biomolecules, you can say DNA. So mutations are errors in DNA. That this is also a very basic question from the school level, you can say, or 11, 12 level. So mutations are errors in DNA that are always harmful is wrong, that are not always harmful, because mutation is an essential part of today's genetic research where they use various mutagens for inducing desirable mutations also. So mutations are not always harmful, sometimes they are desirable also. And it increased tumor growth? No, not necessarily. It can have no phenotypic effect at all, some mutations. Then occur spontaneously at a low rate. This is true. Spontaneously mutations are rare. You cannot just expect mutation every other day. And finally, occur only on the X chromosome. This is also wrong because mutation can also occur on the somatic chromosomes as well. Autosomes, allosomes, everywhere it can occur. Not only, there is nothing like it is only bound to X chromosome. So option 3 will be the correct option. This is the only correct statement about mutation given in the option, right? Moving on to the next question, unit of mixing ratio. You have to know what is mixing ratio, and the unit is kg per kg. This is also a very easy question. There is nothing to explain about it. The unit of mixing ratio, it is very well known, kg per kg, and option 3 will be the correct option. All right, moving on to the next question. Active absorption is governed by dash theory. This is also a very straight question from mineral nutrition. You don't have to think much about it. This is already well known. If you know the answer, you can just mark it in 10 seconds and move on to the next question. That will save you a lot of time. So active absorption is governed by diffusion is not, it is passive absorption. Mass flow is also no. And Donan equilibrium is also not related to active absorption. Active absorption is you have to spend some energy for the absorption against the concentration gradient. So for this, the correct answer will be protein lecithin theory or the lecithin theory. So option 3 is the correct answer. All right, moving on. Here is another question from analytical chemistry. This is a very interesting mathematics. So we will try to solve it here on the screen only. Quantity of Na2CO3 required to prepare 500 ml 0.1 normal. So first, let's find out the molecular weight of Na2CO3. Sodium we know is 23. So 23 into 2 plus carbon we know is 12 plus oxygen we know is 16. So 16 into 3. So what will be the value? 2 3 is 6, 2 2 are 4 plus 12 plus 48. So 48 plus 12 is 60. 60 plus 46 is 106. 106 is the molecular weight. So for equivalent weight, we have to divide it by n factor. And in case of Na2CO3, we can see that CO3 2 minus is there, the valence is 2, and it will be 2 Na plus. So the n factor is 2. So the equivalent weight is by 2 and it is 53. 53 is the equivalent weight. So 53 gram of Na2CO3, 53 gram in 1000 ml is 1 normal. All right. So we have to make it 0.1 normal first. So for 0.1 normal, it will be 5.3 gram in 1000 ml. That is 0.1 normal, right? 1000 ml containing 53 gram, sorry, containing 5.3 gram, that is 0.1 normal. Now we have to do it in 500 ml. So for keeping this 0.1 normal intact, right? If this one is concentrated by 2 times, like it becomes 500 ml, then we have to divide this also by 2. 5.3 by 2 is nothing but 2 2s are 4, 4 5 1, 3, 2 6 are 12, 2 3 1, 265, 2.65. So 5.3 divided by 2 is 2.65. So option 1 will be the correct answer. Like 2.6 gram of Na2CO3 is required for preparing 500 ml of 0.1 normal solution of Na2CO3, right? Option 1 will be the correct answer. Let's move on. The value of tortuosity in soil. Tortuosity, I think you know the definition. If you don't know, I will tell you. Like if here in the soil there is a lot of aggregates and lot of particles there, so there is no straight line for the water to travel. So once water enters the soil after infiltration, it will have to move according to the aggregate position and according to the pore geometry and the geometry of the soil. It has to move like that. However, if this was a straight line, say we consider 2 points from here to here, we consider 2 points. So the straight line distance is this much, but the water is traveling this much. This ratio is called tortuosity. The actual path traveled by the water divided by the straight line path through which the water could have traveled. Right? So this actual path will always be greater in case of soil, because soil you can never expect something like this. There can be no straight path because it is such an intricate, such a complex heterogeneous system. So tortuosity in soil will be always greater than 1. Always this actual path length will be more for the water to travel than the straight line. It cannot be equal to 1. In case of soil, it can never be equal to 1. It will always be greater than 1. So option C will be the correct option. Moving on to the next question. Dash is the determination of one or few constituents from the sample. Right. So this one was a doubtful question. There were two options that were doubted a lot. So here they have given partial analysis. Partial analysis is the correct option. But proximate analysis and ultimate analysis, I would suggest you read thoroughly about all these four. What is proximate, what is ultimate, what is complete analysis, what is partial analysis. This you can solve from general knowledge only, even if you don't know the theory, that the determination of one or few constituents from a whole sample, it will be partial analysis. Ultimate analysis means the total proper analysis of the whole sample, and proximate analysis also means like you will have definite determination of few elements, few or some elements, but it will not be like ultimate analysis, but it differs from the partial analysis in a way that you analyze all part of it, but you only consider certain parameters, whereas in partial analysis you determine one or few constituents only from the sample. So this was a doubtful between partial and proximate, but partial analysis is the more appropriate answer, so partial analysis will be the correct answer. And moving on to the next question. Here, this is also a very easy question from the thermal regime, soil temperature part. Here you can see they have given a wrong thing in the question, but anyhow, you cannot expect everything correct in the exam, so you have to adjust accordingly. So here, this is a very simple match the following. You just match which thermal regime means which mean annual soil temperature. So we know megathermic is the highest temperature uh, soil thermal regime, and that will be 28 degrees Celsius or more. So D3, there is only one option. We have already got our answer, but still we will see. Hyperthermic will be 22 to 28, less than 28. Thermic will be 15 to less than 22, and mesic will be 8 to less than 15. So it will be A2, B1, C4, and D3. All right, moving on. The characteristics of plinthite horizon. This is also a very well-known and very widely discussed question from pedology. You have to be very thorough about pedology, as I always say. So plinthite horizon is humus poor, sesquioxide rich. Okay, you have to remember only two key words: humus poor, sesquioxide rich, right? Poor in humus, rich in sesquioxide. So rich in humus is wrong. So wherever there is option A, you can strike that off, and all right, we are already getting the answer, and it is rich in sesquioxide. So the answer will be B and C. Presence of yellowish or grayish mottles, true. Hardens, this one is wrong. All right. So option 2 will be the correct option. So we have come to the last question of today's session, that is question number 50. Arrange the following carbohydrate molecules in the increasing molecular weight. As far as I can remember, they have given wrong options for this, because glucose is the monosaccharide, and increasing molecular weight means at first it will, of course, glucose will come, and after that any other molecules will come, because it's a monosaccharide. Then sucrose is a disaccharide, so it will be C, B, D, A. It would have been the correct order, but here you cannot find any order like that. So this question was dropped. You can mark anything and you will get the answer. But the correct answer will be C, glucose monosaccharide, that is having the least molecular weight. After that will be sucrose, disaccharide. Then it will be amylopectin, and then it will be starch. So I can show you 602. This question's dropped. You can see here 602 dropped. All right. So anything you have marked, or even if you have to mark the question, you have to attempt the question. For wrong question, you should always attempt it and you will get the number, since it is dropped. All right. Full marks to everyone. So we will meet again with the next part of this video, and goodbye. So welcome back to the continued coverage of the ICAR JRF 2023 physical science question. So let's dive into it. So this question is a question from radioactivity, and this is one of the most frequently asked questions, and you should be very thorough with radioactivity chapter. You should know the inventors, the units, the instruments used for measuring that. So this question asks about the half-life. It is from the half-life concept, and here they have said the half-life, and they want to know the average life. All right. So I think you know the formula of T half. T half is equal to 0.693 by lambda. So here T half they have given 30. So we will find out the lambda, that will be 0.693 by 30. All right. And let me calculate this. This will come around 0.693 divided by 30 will come around 0.0231. This lambda is the decay constant. All right. Now, for the average life, T average, the formula is simply 1 by lambda. All right. So 1 by 0.0231 comes as 43.2900. So 43.29 is their answer. Yeah. So option 4 is the correct option. All right, it will be 43.29. So I think you understood the formula. The 0.693 is nothing but the value of ln2. So you have to remember two formulas for properly doing this. And let's move on to the next question. The next question is a question from environmental science. This is also an important aspect of the physical science portion. And for environmental science, I would suggest you study the NCERT books, and if not possible, you can study any good notes from a reputed university. So under which law the industry is likely to cause environmental pollution should be examined? This we all know, that is the Environmental Protection Act of 1986. Option 3 will be the correct option. All right, moving on. What will be the soil texture if it contains 60% clay? Ooh, that's a huge amount of clay. More than 50% clay means the soil will be clay soil. You don't need to see the silt and sand content at all. It contains 60% clay means the soil will be clay soil. No other property of any other primary soil separates will be visible, or it will be feasible also. So the answer for this question will be clay soil. Definitely this is clay soil. All right, moving on. Here we have got another assertion reasoning question. So let's read it carefully. Bacillus megaterium is an efficient P solubilizing bacteria. True, very true. That is a true statement. Bacillus megaterium produces different organic acids for dissolution. This is also true. And the reason correctly asserts the assertion statement, right? So the answer will be option 1. This is because Bacillus megatherium produces different organic acids. These acids have a dissolution effect on the phosphate rocks, and they dissolute the phosphate rocks and they release the minerals from the hard bound rocks and makes that phosphate available to the plants. That is why it is an efficient p solubilizing bacteria having a dissoluting effect, and this dissolution effect comes from the organic acids produced by the bacteria. All right, moving on. Another assertion reasoning question. This is also from basic optics, you can see from physics. The sky is blue due to scattering of sunlight. This is true. The sky reflects the sea and ocean, which are blue. This is totally wrong. The sky is blue due to scattering of sunlight. Correct. But sky reflects the sea and ocean, which are blue. That is not at all possible. In fact, it is the opposite. The sea and ocean reflects the sky, that is blue. That is why most of the color of the ocean water and sea water is blue. You can see in the maps and you can see by yourself also. If there is no other factors involved like algae or anything, the color is usually blue. So the correct answer will be A is true, but R is false. Yeah. So option 3 is the correct option. All right. Moving on. Which of the following is true? Okay, we have to read the four statements and we have to see which of the following is true. So let's do that. Uptake of molybdenum by plant reduces with sulfur application. This is correct. This is because of the negative interaction effect, right? Antagonistic effect. I was not finding out the word. Yeah, this is due to the antagonistic effect between the two nutrients. So uptake of MO by plant reduces with S application. This is also called negative interaction. So this statement is true. We can already mark the answer, but still let's read the other. Boron toxicity decreases with decreasing concentration of calcium. This is wrong, because boron and calcium also have a negative interaction effect. So one increases, let's in decrease of another. Iron plays a synergistic role in relation to zinc. This is also wrong. They have an antagonistic role and not synergistic. And finally, high copper in soil cause dieback in citrus. This is also wrong. All right. So option 1 is the correct option. Let's move on. The characteristics of imogolite are they are found in andesol. True. They have low bulk density and high plasticity. False. They have a high potassium fixation capacity. False. They are paracrystalline in nature. True. They are short range order minerals. All right. So this question is from the soil mineralogy and chemistry portion, and from here you will find maybe say 3-4 questions, but those questions are very important and very conceptual. So you should be very clear with your soil chemistry concepts, and you should not fear when you see a question of this kind. So the correct answer of this will be option 4, A and D only. All right. So they are found in andesol and they are paracrystalline in nature. Right. Moving on, another match the following question, which is they're asking the theory proposed and the author who proposed the theory. So let's dive right into it. Contact exchange was given by Jenny and Overstreet. Air capacity was given by Kohnke. Mobility of nutrients was driven by Bray. Bray's concept of nutrient mobility. Growth factor and yield concept was given by Misterly. So this is a very easy question from mineral nutrition mostly, but this part, this air capacity part, comes under soil physics in the soil air portion. So these are very well known scientists, and you should know who propounded which theory and who gave which theory. And this is a very common question that might be repeated in any year's JRF in the upcoming years. So the correct option will be A2, B4, C1 and D3, right? So option 1 will be the correct option, right? Let's move on. Training dataset is used to identify desired features in remote sensing sensed images in. This is a very straight question from remote sensing and GPS GIS. So here they are saying training dataset is used to identify desired features in remote sensing. So already it has been fed. The training dataset has been used by the model to identify desired features in remote sensed images. So already you are feeding the training dataset, and that is why it is called supervised classification method, right? It is under the supervision, because You are providing training dataset to identify desired features in the remote sensed images. So you are feeding something already known to you, that is a training dataset, and that is used to identify something new. So this happens under supervision. So this is the supervised classification method. All right. Now moving on, another question from heat. This is vertical movement of air and heat from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere. This is a question from soil physics mostly, and you should know all of these four processes. These are very, very important. The answer to this question will be, of course, convection. You know, convection is the vertical movement of air due to density or any other pressure or anything gradient. All right. There is no external force involved. Due to the presence of a gradient, the movement occurs. That is called convection. So vertical movement of air and heat from Earth's surface to atmosphere mainly takes place by this process. Now let's dig into the other three processes. Conduction is, I think you know, it is the transfer of heat from hotter portion of a body to the colder portion of a body, and this can happen only through contact, where the molecules inside the hotter part of the body vibrates with a higher kinetic energy, and they transfers the momentum into the molecules of the colder part, which also starts vibrating and generate that same temperature. So conduction happens only through contact, and it is the most significant process of heat transfer in soil, or also mostly all the heat transferring processes that we see in our everyday life, right? Say conduction is here is a rod having a hot end. Like, let's assume this whole rod is hot and you connect this with another rod which is cold, so heat will flow from this rod to this rod until a equilibrium temperature is attained for both the rods. All right. Then coming to advection, advection is the movement of heat and air due to some external force, say wind. Along with the wind, the flux of gas, the heat, everything is flowing. So there should be an external agent like air, like rain, like ocean current or anything. When the ocean current acts as the external agent, or the wind acts as the external agent for carrying heat from one place to another, that process is called advection. And sublimation, I think all of us know, sublimation is the change of state directly from solid to gas, and there is no liquid state in between. That is called sublimation. So you should be very thorough with all the four options, and questions can be asked from any of these, as these are the fundamental concepts of physics, and you should be very clear about all this, right? So moving on to the next question. Match the following question, an easy one. You have to match list 1 with list 2. So let's dive right into it. Land use is, of course, soil capability classification. Soil capability classification determines the land use of a particular patch of land. Then CN ratio decides the mineralization and immobilization of nutrients in the soil. Then landslide occurs in hilly areas, of course, and soil and water conservation is done through cover crops, because cover crops are erosion resisting crops and they conserve the land and water. Soil and water conservation takes place through cover crops, right? They block the flow, they breaks down the flowing water, they reduces the speed of the flowing water, and also they are erosion resisting crops, so they resist soil erosion. So this is a very easy question, and we can mark the answer as A4, B3, C2, and D1, right? Moving on, which of the following is not insecticide synergist? This is a question from agriculture chemicals, and agricultural chemicals is one of the most important sections of the physical science subject group of JRF. For this reason, you have to study from any good book or any good note or from any good source, whatever you can find, and you have to be very clear and very thorough about it. For these questions, you cannot use your concept, you cannot use any other kind of tricks or anything. You have to know it to know the answer, otherwise, you have to leave it, because otherwise you will get negative marking since you are not sure. So for this question, which of the following is not insecticide synergist? So the answer will be nimbinol. All right, option 3. Insecticide synergist means compounds which are used along with the insecticide to enhance the flowability or the flowing texture of the insecticide, right? So it enhances the capacity of the insecticide to work. That is why it is called insecticide synergist. and which is not, this is nimbinol. You can understand the simple meaning of the words. Synergist, someone who helps. Synergy, there is a positive interaction effect, right? So let's move on. Plantation of high water consuming plants for withdrawal of groundwater is termed as, this is a very easy question. Even if you don't know this, you can answer this from your knowledge of English language, and it is called biodrainage, because high water consuming plants, they have missed the word plants here, not a problem, we can add it. Here we can see the word plantation. So it is a biological organism that is used for withdrawal of groundwater. So this is biodrainage. Subsurface drainage is engineering term, mole drainage is engineering term. You need concrete and other anthropogenic substances for making these drains, and these are not biological actually, these are synthetically made. And surface drainage is nowhere related to plantation, so plantation is biodrainage. This is a very easy question. Let's move on. So riparian erosion occurs at, this question is a very good question from Soil and Water Conservation. Riparian means it is the adjective of something related to river. All right, you should know this. Riparian means related to river. So clear cut forest land, no. Harvested cropland, no. Bank of stream, yeah. Option 3. Places having excessive grazing, no. So option 3 will be the correct answer. All right. The following is the list of pesticides. Choose the correct option answer from the options given below. These kind of questions are very, very important and very common in nowadays the JRF and SRF all type of examinations. For this, you have to be very thorough with the recent development of the pesticides in India. So here you can only find this news if you are thorough with your current affairs and if you are closely following the pesticide industry of the country, that which pesticide is getting banned by the government, which pesticide is getting regulated by the government. So let's see. BHC, we all know that is completely banned in India. DDT is also banned in India. Only it is produced in one factory. I am forgetting the name. Probably Hindustan Chemicals something, and that is only and only used for export, and that too not as an insecticide or pesticide. It is only used for some other industrial use. All right. NaCN cyanide is also totally banned. Heptachlor is also banned, whereas carbendazim is still in use. All right. So A to E pesticides are banned for use in India. Wrong. Only E is banned for use in India. Wrong. A to E are not banned for use in India is also wrong. So A to D are banned for use in India except E. This is the correct option. All right. So option 4 will be the correct option. From the options, you can make an idea even if you don't know the answer, but still this one is a bit confusing. You have to specifically know that carbendazim is not banned in India now, then only you can answer this question. So option 4. Moving on. Water use efficiency in increasing order. This is a very, very favorite question of the JRF physical science subject group. You can find this question in almost every year. 2024 it came, 2023 it came, 2022 it came, 2021 it came. So consecutive 4 years this question came. If you do proper analysis of previous year question paper. So for questions like this, you don't have to waste your time at all. You can just mark it in 5 seconds and go on to the next question. So water use efficiency in increasing order. So increasing order, you just have to be careful about these words in the question, whether it is increasing or decreasing, high to low or low to high. So water use efficiency from low to high. All right. So the lowest water use efficiency we all know is of course from surface irrigation. And I can see already we have got our answer. Still we will solve this. Surface irrigation, after that sprinkler irrigation, after that drip irrigation, and then pitcher pot irrigation. But the problem with pitcher pot irrigation is you just cannot do it in the field scale because it is virtually impossible. You cannot use a pitcher pot for individually irrigating each plant for 1 hectare field, say. So this is the water use efficiency in the increasing order, but you cannot say essentially that it is the practical order. All right. So the correct answer will be option 1. Moving on. What is the common of butane 1 all? This was a disputed question. I will tell you why. So first let's draw the structure of butane 1 all. Butane means 4 carbon compound. So we will draw 4 compounds and we will consider this carbon as the number 1 carbon. So we will add one OH group into it. and after that we will just fill up the hydrogens. All right. So this is the first carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, and you can see if we draw this alcohol in this way, this is a straight line compound, straight chain compound. There is no branching or anything. So the proper IUPAC name is butanol because in the first carbon there is OH, but the common name is N-butyl alcohol, right? Because N-butyl alcohol, since there is no branching or anything, so we cannot say it as iso. Iso means branching. Methanol, this is not methanol. Methanol will only contain one carbon. This is butanol, so methanol is also wrong. However, N-butyl alcohol, and here they have given it in a weird way, but they are trying to say N-butanol and N-butyl alcohol. These are two different words. So N-butanol is also correct. N-butyl alcohol is also correct. So the correct answer to this question is option 2 and 3. However, in the provisional answer key, they have not given option 2 as the correct answer, and there was a huge controversy regarding this. But in the final answer key, they have given both 2 and 3 as the correct. The most appropriate answer, however, is of course option 2. As you can see, N-butyl alcohol is correct, whereas there is no compound like N-butanol and butyl alcohol. They have given it in the wrong fashion in the option. So actually option 3 is less appropriate, but since this is a printing mistake from their side, they have given marks for both the options. This is N-butanol, oblique or comma or slash or semicolon N-butyl alcohol. So both are not the same compound. Both are the name of the same compound, but they are expressed differently. All right. So let's move on. So another question of assets and reasoning. Let's dive into it. Mobility is the overall process whereby nutrients reach the root surface and sorption into the plant. Of course, this is the true statement. Then next, mobility involves the solution or exchange of nutrients and movement to root surface. This is also true. All right, both the statements are true, and the reason is related to the assertion. You can see mobility involves the solution of exchange of nutrients and movement to root surface because mobility is the overall process whereby nutrients reach the root surface and sorption into the plant. So option 1 will be the correct option where both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. All right, let's move on to the next question. This is a true false based question. We will try to solve it very fast. At field capacity metric potential, the soil water content is higher when dry soil is getting wet. So this is a question from hysteresis, from the soil physics portion, soil water, you can say more precise. So at field capacity metric potential, they are fixing the metric potential and they are saying the soil water content is higher when dry soil is getting wet. So this is a wrong statement because you can remember the hysteresis graph and say a particular potential point is fixed. This is the suction, this is the metric suction, and this is the volumetric water content. So here at field capacity metric potential, they have fixed the particular metric potential. We say it is at this point, and we know this is the drying curve, and this is the wetting curve. All right. So at field capacity metric potential, the soil water content is higher when dry soil is getting wet. No, in the wetting curve, the soil water content is less, whereas in the drying curve, the soil water content is more. So when wet soil is getting dry, that will contain more water. Soil water content is not higher when dry soil is getting wet. So this statement 1 is wrong. All right. And then statement 2 is the drying of soil depends on the narrow radius of the connecting channels, whereas the wetting process depends on large pore diameters. This is a true statement because while wetting, the process depends on large pore diameters where the intruding water will like they will come and they will very steadily and very fastly they will just acquire that pore space, expelling the air out of the largest pore, whereas during drying the narrow channels containing water they will take a lot more time to dry because even if the macropores are dried out and replaced by air, but air cannot access the narrow radius and the micropores where water will be still there, and it will take a lot of time to dry out that water. All right. This statement is directly from Daniel Hillel's, soil physics book. Also, it is there in IEEE. You can check. So here the correct answer will be statement 1 is false, but statement 2 is true. All right. We will, however, we will check the answer for this one. 556. Yes, option 4 is the correct option. Statement 1 is false. It is absolutely false, whereas statement 2 is true. The drying of soil depends on the narrow radius. That is why it takes more time. That is why in the drying curve, during the drying process, the amount of water is more in the soil. Whereas the wetting process depends on large pore diameter. That is why it takes lesser time, and in at a particular suction, you will find less water in the wetting curve. All right. So moving on to the next question. Another statement type question where you have to write true or false. So international pipette method is regarded as the standard method for particle size analysis due to its accuracy. True. Of course, this is a true statement. Whereas in the second statement, they are saying the hydrometer method is rapid, but it is less accurate. This is also true. So international pipette method is standard because it is having particle size analysis with huge accuracy, high accuracy, but the time consumed and the labor involved is very high. That is why it cannot be employed, it cannot be used in a place where the number of soil samples is large. That's why both the statements are true, and option 1 will be the correct answer. All right, let's move on. The objectives of GIS, very nice. GIS is Geographic Information System. And as I told you earlier, this year saw a huge number of questions from the remote sensing, GPS, and GIS part. That section you should never, never neglect, and you should be very thorough about it, all the portions of it. So let's see the statements. Maximizing the efficiency of planning and decision making, true. Providing efficient means for data distribution and handling, true. Elimination of redundant database, minimize duplication, true. Capacity to integrate information from many sources and bind it into one, true. So all these four are the major objectives of GIS. All these four statements are correct, and these are the major objectives of GIS. And so the correct option will be option 3, where all A, B, C, and D are mentioned. All right. So let's move on. Which are the fundamental soil forming process? Another question from pedology. And as I say always, you have to be very, very, very thorough with your pedology. We have to give emphasis on it. So if you have read the soil forming processes, you will know there are fundamental soil forming processes and then specific soil forming processes. Inside the specific, there comes zonal soil forming processes and intrazonal soil forming processes. However, you can read that portion very thoroughly from the new IEEE or from the JL Segal's pedology or from old IEEE, anything you like. Yeah, all books, all standard books have given this portion very nicely. So we will see the fundamental soil forming processes are alluviation, illuviation, and humification. Humification can also be said as transformation, whereas alluviation and illuviation can be said as translocation, loss, or gain. Fundamental processes of soil formation, whereas lateralization is highly specific. It is highly dependent on climate, vegetation, of an area, and also the parent material is also related to some extent, like it should have some acidic parent material conditions, and also the vegetation condition is very necessary. It should have broadleaf vegetation, and climate should be tropical climate. There should be high rainfall for leaching out of the bases and leaching out of the silica from the topsoil layer. So lateralization is a highly specific soil forming process, and it is not fundamental, whereas alluviation, illuviation are not zonal specific, and it can be found in any soil where there are soil forming processes running, and these are the fundamental ones. So A, B, D will be the correct option. All right, option 4. Let's move on. You have to match the unit with the parameters they have given. This is also a very common type of question, and you should be very thorough about all your units. Whatever parameter you read, you study in soil science, you have to know the unit, because you never know from where the question might come. Mostly they ask from the soil physics portion about the units. However, here you can see they are asking from agrometeorology. So any type of unit you come across, you have to know. So let's see. Relative humidity, we all know, is expressed in percentage because it is the amount of water vapor present in a particular air at a temperature. It is the ratio to the amount of water vapor required to saturate that part of air at a particular temperature, which means how much of the fraction of water is present at the particular condition to how much water is needed to fully saturate the air of that place. That is the relative humidity. So it is expressed in percentage. It has no unit. All right. Then temperature, we all know, even a fourth standard student will say temperature is measured in degrees Celsius. Wind speed is measured in kilometer per hour because there is speed, and speed we know is distance by time, and it can be measured in meter per second, kilometer per hour, miles per hour, like that. And finally, cloud cover is measured in the octa units. This is also a very basic agrometeorological concept that while studying only you can find. So the correct answer to this question will be A4, B3, C2 and D1, option 2. All right, let's move on. All right, a very good question from the phosphorus chapter. This is also very, very important because from phosphorus, potassium and nitrogen, lots of questions comes, and you have to be very thorough about all their theories of absorption, theories of uptake, theories of movement, everything you should know. So here let's see what they are saying, that phosphorus is immobile in soil because phosphate ions are held by anion exchange. True, because phosphates are present as H2PO4 minus and HPO4 2 minus, right? So they are held by anion exchange. True. Phosphate ions are held by ligand exchange. Absolutely correct. This is the special process by which phosphate ions are absorbed into the clay colloids, into the edges, into the sides of the clay colloids, and phosphate ions are absorbed as sparingly soluble phosphates of Fe and AlCa. That is also correct. In acidic soils, it forms FeAl phosphates, whereas in basic soils, it forms calcium phosphates, and they are precipitated. Precipitated or adsorbed, that depends on. Adsorbed means when the solution contains lesser amount of phosphate ions, then it will be adsorbed, whereas precipitated means the solubility product has exceeded the solubility product that was originally meant to be. That means there is very high concentration of phosphate in the solution that exceeds the solubility product of that solution, and that is why precipitation happens. So the correct option will be A, B, and C. Whereas in D, they are saying phosphate ions are leached. There is no leaching of phosphate ions as completely soluble phosphates. These are not completely soluble phosphates. These are very sparingly soluble and mostly insoluble. So D is the wrong statement. So the correct answer will be A, B, and C only. Right? Option 1 is the correct answer. Let's move on. All right, here is a match the following of the name of the books and the author names. This also you should be very thorough. You should definitely make a list of the books and the authors which are relevant to your field and important. And I would tell you a trick here. If you have read the ISSS book, old, new, anyone, you will find suggested readings and the references at the last of all the chapters. So there you will find the books that have been referred by the authors who have wrote the ISSS, that specific chapter. So from there you can make the list, you can write the name of the book and you can write the name of author and you can prepare a list, prepare a table and you can memorize it, all right? Because at least you can expect 2 to 3 questions from books. Who is the author of this book? Who wrote this book and that book? And you should be very thorough about it. All right. So here we know soil physics is written by Gildial and Tripathi. Textbook on pedology. Pedology belongs to Dr. J.L. Sehgal. We all know that. Then A4, B1, then C will be textbook on organic chemistry will be Bal and Bal, and fundamentals of geographic information system will be Chakraborty and Sahu. It does not matter even if you don't know all the options, but at least 2 if you know, mostly there is a chance you can get the answer correct because this is match the following. So here you can see they have given only one option that is correct. If you know any out of these 2, A4 and B1, there is only one option. So even with this knowledge, you can do this answer correctly, and option 2 is the correct option. All right, let's move on. So this question is again from agricultural chemicals, and this is a very tricky question. Let's see. Here the options are also very confusing. So you should be very careful while reading these questions. So given below are four statements. Let's read the statements. Statement 1, bromadiolone is used as a rodenticide. Okay, atrazine is a herbicide. This is true. Carbamate group of pesticides was related to the Bhopal gas incident. No, that happened due to methyl isocyanate. However, methyl isocyanate is used for the preparation of carbamate pesticide, but carbamate group of pesticides was related to Bhopal gas incident. I think we cannot say like that because the pesticides did not do the incident. The gas that was involved in uh, as a middle product in making these pesticides was involved. So this is a very vague, confusing kind of statement, but we will keep it as wrong. And finally, rotenone, a natural compound, is used as an insecticide and herbicide. Rotenone is also used as a pesticide as far as I remember. So this is the correct. So here the correct option, let's read the option. Statement 1 and 2 and statement 3 and 4 are true. All statements are not true. So no. Then statement 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 false. No. 1 is true but 2 is false. True is true. So this is also wrong. 3 is false but 4 is true. I think option 4 will be the correct option. I'm not entirely sure since this is a very controversial and vague question, but let's check the answer. 620 is, you can see 620 is 4. Option 4 is the correct answer. So we thought it correctly. So option 4 will be the right answer, right? So this is a wrong statement, but this is a correct statement, whereas this statement still feels a bit correct only to me because group of pesticides was related, definitely related, but not essentially the pesticides did the tragedy. So that's why I think the question paper setter must have thought it in that way. Whereas all the other three statements are true, that is absolutely correct. That is, we have no doubt about it. So statement 1, 2, 3, 4 are true. This would have been an option, but the final answer key have given this option as the correct option. So we will move on. A soil, here is another mathematics from the soil water portion. Soil 80 centimeter deep has a volume water content of 0.12, that is 12%. Find out the quantity of water that must be added to bring the volume water content to 0.30. Alright, this is a very easy question. There is nothing. So final volume water content we need is 0.3. What is already there is 0.12. So we just simply subtract it, you will get 8 and 1. So you will get 0.18, and for finding out the quantity of water, we will have to multiply this with the centimeter, 80 centimeter. So 8 8s are 64, 8 1s are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 1, 4, 4, 0 with decimal before the 2 points. So it will be 14.40. 14.40. All right. I think you got the answer. You got the concept. The initial volumetric water content is 12%. Finally, it is 30%. So 30 minus 12 is 18%. That is 0.18. 0.18 water is needed. 18% water is needed. And for finding out the quantity, we need to multiply it with the soil depth. And the soil depth has been given as 80 centimeters. So simply 80 into 0.18, it will come 14.4. All right, let's move on. So this is another assets and reasoning question from the GPS GIS section. Let's read it. Raster data is obtained from satellite images, aerial cameras, and scanned maps. This is true. Georeferencing allows you to view, query, and analyze raster data with other geographical data. True. Both the statements are correct, but this statement and this statement has essentially no relation, and the assumption reasoning is wrong because you cannot put the two statements together. Like georeferencing allows you to view, query, and analyze raster data with other geographic data because raster data is obtained from satellite images, aerial cameras, and scan maps. So both the statements are correct, but B R is not the correct explanation of A. Alright, so option 2 is the correct option. Let's move on. Another assertion reasoning question, let's read it. Primary objective of summer plowing is opening of the soil crust and turn the soil underneath. Absolutely true. That is how we do the summer plowing. And it facilitates to sow the crops immediately after onset of monsoon. Yeah, because if you do the summer plowing, just after the rain comes, you can sow the crops immediately. So there will be no stress of moisture, and the crop stand and the growth of the crops, the germination will be very good. So, and this is the reason also, of course, this is the reason, because it facilitates to sow the crop immediately after onset of monsoon. That is why primary objective of summer plow is opening of the soil crust and turn the soil underneath. So the correct option will be option 1. Both A and R are correct, and R is the correct explanation of A. All right. Let's move on. So here, this question, I can say you, this question was given wrong. This question had a lot of controversy, but still they did not drop this question. But you can see this question is given wrong. There is no correct sequence of the options, but we'll see. Reduction of iron in waterlogged soil is glaciation. All right, A3. Here with this, if you hit it as option 4, because A3 is there, then okay, in final answer key they have given it as option 4 only, but if you check the other sequence, if you check the other keys, those are not correct. All right, say for option 4 only we check A3B4. Leaching of dispersed particles is never pedoturbation. This is totally wrong. Pedoturbation is intermixing of horizon. Then they have said C is equal to intermixing of soil horizon is podzolization. That is also totally wrong. And finally, elevation of oxides of FeL and humus is argillation. That is also totally wrong. So option 4 they have given as the correct option, maybe by seeing the option like A3, A goes on to 3, but this is a wrong question because none of the options are correct. So let's study what will be the correct combination. So A will be 3, that we have no doubt about it. A will be 3. Then leaching of dispersed particles will be 1. All right. B will be 1. There is nothing like B is equal to 1. So C, intermixing of soil horizon, we all know that is called pedoturbation, happens in vertisol, in black soil. C will be 4. Leaching of dispersed particles will be argillation, reduction of iron will be glaciation, and elevation of oxides of FeAl and humus. FeAl and humus is removed from the topsoil and silica gets accumulated, that is happens in podzolization. So D will 2. But you can see there is none of the options like that. So this is an essentially wrong question, but they have not given it as dropped and they have considered option 4 as the correct option. I don't know why, but that should not have happened. So let's move on. I can show you here 502. You can see they have given option 4 as the correct option, whereas it is not. So let's move on. The Environment Protection Act was enacted in the year, I think, if you remember, this question was here only when we started this session. So even if you don't remember the year, you can simply go back to your question and you can see that Environment Protection Act was enacted on 1986. So sometimes you will get questions like this also where you don't need to think much. You can just solve it without wasting any of your time and move on to the next question directly. So it will be 1986, right? Option 4 is the correct option. Let's move on. Which of the following is a representation of vector map? Vector map, we know. Vector map has no pixels. These are continuous kind of maps where you will find points and many points will be joined together to form polygons. So point and polygon, A and C only, whereas pixel is used in, pixel is a representation of raster data, right? Because in raster data you will find pixel, box like pixels. Inside that data will be there, that is the raster data, whereas vector data consists of point and polygon. Point and polygon represents the vector map. In vector map you cannot find the pixel, right? So option 4 will be the correct option, that is A and C only. All right. Another very easy and sitter question. This question is also very favorite of ICAR. I don't know why they ask it every 1 year or every 2 years. And Here they have asked which of the following method is likely to be used where the water supply is limited. That means you have less water, you don't have much water, and the market value of the crop is high. High market value crop. So everyone knows the answer of this. Water supply is limited, so you cannot use surface irrigation. You cannot use any of this irrigation, and the answer will be drip irrigation. Since the market value also is high, so you need precise irrigation management. That's why drip irrigation will be the perfect option for this. And also another question comes, if you analyze all the previous year questions, you will see which of the following method is used where the water supply is unlimited and the market value of the crop is low. In that case, the answer will be surface irrigation, because that is the least labor consuming process and the easiest way of irrigating, having the lowest water use efficiency. All right. So this question has been directly asked from A.K. Saha's soil physics book. If you have that book, you can check in the uh, MCQ questions given at the end of the exercise. There you can directly find the same statement also. This whole statement has been taken from that book. So you can practice that book if you want. You can do the MCQs, and this question, the correct option will be option 2. All right. However, in this question, you should read about all the irrigation processes, and you never know question might come from where. So photochemical smog formation in urban areas is mainly due to the presence of photochemical smog. You should know how it is formed, and it is a result of NOx, that is nitrogen oxides. These are the major drivers, nitrogen dioxide and all. They are the major drivers. They react with secondary pollutants like PAN and all, and they form a yellow hazy kind of photochemical smog. Photochemical smog is not at all related with fog, not at all related with smoke. So and winter climate is also not true. Photochemical smog mostly occurs in warmer areas with warm climate. In colder areas, you can find classical smog, that is due to sulfur dioxide pollution and fog and smoke and all those things. But photochemical smog is completely different from classical smog, and you should read about this. If you can read it from any NCERT or from any textbook, that is fine. Otherwise, you can read it from Google also. You can go to any good website and you can study about both these smogs, and the correct answer will be ozone, PAN, and nitrogen dioxide. All these compounds react and form a yellow hazy kind of a blanket kind of fog, that is called smog, but it is not at all related to fog or smoke. All right, let's move on. Black gram as a cover crop reduces surface runoff and soil loss during rainy season. True. Black gram as a live mulch crop reduces surface runoff and soil loss during rainy season. This is also true. Both the statements should be correct. And yes, we are right. Both the statements are correct, and option 1 is the correct answer. Blackgram can be used as both as cover crop, as live mulch crop, and essentially has the same function, reduces surface runoff and soil loss during the rainy seasons. All right. Moving on, identify the copper containing minerals. So this one is from pedology, where the rocks and minerals portion, and this one you can do nothing, but you have to memorize. Otherwise, you cannot use your concept or anything to get the answer for this. So you have to know this to mark the correct answer. So here, azurite is a very common copper containing mineral. So wherever there is B, that will be the answer. But the problem is 3 options has B in it. So azurite will be there, and covellite is another copper containing mineral. So option 1 will be the correct option. All right. Whereas covellite and limonite does not contain. As far as I remember, limonite probably contains iron and covellite contains. Let me check here. I don't want to be wrong. Yes, I was correct. Limonite means iron containing mineral. You can see FeOH, and it is a mixture of hydrated iron oxide and hydroxides, whereas covellite, I think, is molybdenum. Yeah, it is a molybdenum containing mineral. So covellite is calcium molybdate. That is why I was saying that you should be very thorough with the minerals and rocks chapters, and you should know which contains what. So covellite contains molybdenum, whereas limonite contains iron, but covellite and azurite contains copper. All right, let's move on. The ionic product of water at ordinary temperature is a constant value of. This is a very seater question. There is nothing into it. 10 to the power minus 7 of H plus, 10 to the power minus 7 of OH minus comes to 10 to the power minus 14. This is the ionic product of water. at 25 degrees Celsius. So option 4 will be the correct option. In the beginning of the soil acidity chapter, you can read this in the ICAR book, and it has been explained very nicely. So let's move on. Well, they have given 4 statements, and we have to choose the correct option from these 4 and from these options. So the question is a bit confusing, but not a problem. We will see. Very dark, cracking clay dominated soil, black soil. Locally called regur, karail, and bhal, black soil. High clay varying from 30 to 60%, base rich, black soil. Occurs in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and some parts of Karnataka and TN. Again, black soil. So all the 4 statements are related to black soil. Let's check the other options. Alluvial soil, no. Red soil, not at all. Very dark, it's not possible. Laterite and lateritic is also no. So the correct option will be only black soil and A only. Is there any option? Yeah, option 1 is there. That is A only is the correct answer, right? So option 1 will be the correct option. This is a very easy question, nothing to explain there. We all know, locally called regur, karail, and bhal, and very dark cracking clay smectites are there, and it has high clay content varying from 30 to 60%, and it is very rich in base. All right. Estimating the colored complex with chelating agent. This is a question from analytical chemistry. You should be very thorough with analytical chemistry. Like if you are going to work in the laboratory in your MSc or PhD, you should know the principle, you should know how an instrument works, and from there you can expect at least 3 to 4 questions every year. So that is, you have to put some emphasis on that. So this is called colored complex with chelating agent. Wherever chelating agent is used, that is called complexometry. I think in your UG you have done the determination of calcium and magnesium ions in the soil. That involves complexometric titration with EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, right? So whenever a chelating agent is used, that chelating agent forms complex along with the metal ions. That is why it is also called complexometric titration. And estimating the colored complex with chelating agent, wherever a chelating agent is used, it forms a complex, and that is why it is called complexometry. All right, option 2 will be the correct option. Let's move on. Oh, this question is from soil physics, the soil texture portion. You can see it is like, you cannot expect an easier question than this in any competitive exam. So they're asking, arrange the soil particles in the ascending order of its diameter. Ascending order means from low to high. So whichever is the smallest will come first. So B will come first, clay will come first, and there is only one option. We will not waste any time in this question and we'll directly move on. And the next question is, crop residue on soil surface in conservation tillage system can decrease the rate of soil temperature change. Of course, it is true. Crop residue on the soil surface acts as the insulator material and they do not allow sunlight to pass. That is why they can decrease the rate of soil temperature change and can attain a state of equilibrium almost. All right. And the reason is surface residue increases the reflection of incident solar radiation. Just now I told in explanation without even seeing the statement. So you can understand that both the statements are correct and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. All right. This is the true statement. So option 1 will be the correct option. All right. Let's move on. What is the common formula for the alkanes? Here you have to be very careful whether they are asking alkane or alkene or alkyne, right? Alkane contains single bond, ene contains double bond, and ine contains triple bond. All right. So this is a basic chemistry question. You should know about it. Alkanes, the formula is CnH2n plus 2. If you don't remember this, then you can draw any alkane and then you can find out the formula. Say, let's draw methane. Methane is CH4. I'm drawing it not in a tetrahedral structure. I am simply drawing it for explanation purpose. So here you can see the number of carbon is 1 and H is 4. So 1 into 2 into 1 plus 2 is equal to 4. If methane is a bit confusing, then also no problem. Let's consider a 3 carbon compound. Let's consider propane. Propane will contain CCC, it will contain H3, H2 and H3, right? So C3 and H is 8. So you can check it with all this. 2n means C3H6, that is not the formula, so it will not be the case. CnH2n minus 2, then it would have been C3H4, that is also not the case. And CnHn, C3H3 is not there, so it will be CnH2n plus 2. 3 into 2 means 6. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. Alright, so option 3 is the option 2 is the correct option. CnH2n plus 2. Alright, option 2 is the correct option. Let's move on. Diseases occurring due to calcium deficiency. Another question from mineral nutrition. So I think this is a very easy one. So here you have to check the name of the diseases, and also they are given the disease in such a way, even if you know one or two, you can do the answer. You don't have to put much of your brain into it. So pillowing of cucumber is absolutely sure that is caused by calcium, C deficiency. All right. So D will be there. We can cut off the two. Then among A and C, hollow heart in groundnut, no, it is not caused by calcium. Whereas pod popping in groundnut is caused by calcium deficiency, because calcium mostly imparts mechanical strength to the plant structures, to the cell wall, and pod popping is due to less strength of the walls of the pods of the groundnut. That is why it is also due to calcium deficiency. Whereas hollow heart in groundnut, I am not entirely sure, but it might happen due to boron deficiency, as far as I remember. I'm not sure. You can check it. But C and D are the correct option for C deficiency. So option 4 will be the correct option. All right. Let's move on. As the following. Here there is characteristic and the terminology. It's a very easy one. Very basic soil chemistry and mineralogy question. So Si4 replaced by Al3 is called isomorphous substitution. We all know this. Attachment of Ca2 plus on clay surface is due to ionic double layer. Then Na plus replacing other cations on clay surface causes dispersion of clay because of very high hydrated radius of sodium and very high hydration energy. That is why it causes the zeta potential to increase, and one clay colloid repulses another clay colloid, resulting in dispersion of the soil. And H dissociated from hydroxyl ions on the clay surface is based on the pH. It results in pH dependent charge. So the answer will be option 4, where A4, B1, C3 and D2. All right, very basic question, nothing to think about much here. So we will move on to the 95th question. It says water requirement for wheat crop varies from 300 to 600 millimeter. This is true. This is correct. You should know this. You should be very thorough with your agronomic knowledge. And water requirement varies depending on the soil type and rainfall and variety. This is also true. That is why the range is so huge. There is a 300 millimeter gap in the range. So it will depend on the soil type. It will depend on the rainfall that is received in that particular area where the crop is grown, and also on the variety. Which variety requires how much of water. Alright, so the assertion is completely true, the reason is completely true, and the reason correctly explains why the assertion has such a huge range. So the correct answer to this question will be option 1. Option 1 is the correct answer. Alright, let's move on. Another assertion reasoning question. Sentinel satellite mission is one of the European Space Agency's next generation Earth observation missions. True. There are 6 Sentinel satellites which provide free data to the user. This is also true. But these two statements are not essentially related. Like they are related, but they does not explain each other. So the correct option will be option 2. Correct answer. Still check once. 565 is 2. We are correct. All right. So this question is again about the units of the physical parameters. I was just saying before in this session only that you have to be very thorough with your units, as they might give, they might ask, and that's why you have to be very careful, because you cannot afford to miss this question, because these are sure short questions which will fetch you the marks. So surface tension is Newton per meter because it is force per length, the formula of surface tension. Then viscosity will be Pascal second because the unit is Newton per meter into second, and Newton per meter is nothing but Pascal, so it is Pascal second. And after that, Pascal will be soil water potential because soil water potential is expressed in pressure unit. Bar and Pascal is related. Pascal is the SI unit of pressure. And soil permeability, how much water is permeating through the soil, will be measured by meter per hour. Of course, it is a unit of distance by time. How much distance is traveled in unit time, that is the permeability. And particle density, we know the unit of density is gram per cc or megagram per meter cube or kilogram per meter cube, nothing. It will be a unit of mass by volume. Density is equal to mass by volume. All right. Density is equal to mass by volume. Mass is equal to volume into density. So it will be unit of mass by volume. It is the mass and it is the volume. All right. So the correct option will be A2 and option 3 is the correct answer. Even if you have known only option A, like only surface tension you knew, you could have answered this question and moved on to the next question very quickly. All right. Another assertion reasoning question from agricultural chemicals. So again, we have to be very careful so that we don't get it wrong. The organochlorine pesticides accumulate in the fatty tissues in the human body. This is true. This is a correct statement. Organochlorine pesticides are chemically unstable and hydrophobic. No, no, no. It is not unstable. Organochlorines are one of the most stable compounds. That is why their degradation takes such a huge time in the environment, and that is why organochlorines are getting banned, because they are accumulating in the fatty tissues in the human body and other animals, and they are getting biomagnified. They are having biomagnification in the food chain and the food web. That is why they are imposing lots of problems. That's why assertion is a correct statement, whereas reason is a wrong statement. So we don't have to check about the feasibility of the statement, and we can directly go for option 3. A is correct, but R is not correct. All right, A is correct, but R is not correct. Let's move on to the 99th question. Normalized difference vegetation index, that is NDVI, is used to monitor crop health, is determined from reflectance of red band, not only red band, reflectance of blue and red, no, blue is not involved. Reflectance of short wave, no, short wave is also not involved. Reflectance of near infrared and red band, true. Option 4 is the correct option, because if you see the formula, you will see NIR minus red by NIR plus red. So there is involvement of near infrared and red wavelength of the light in NDVI. You have to know the formula. Next, when the original value of N in urea is 46% and estimated value is 45.5%, then the relative error, we have to find the relative error. This is a really easy question. You have nothing to put, no brain to put here. So the formula will be simply this one. So 46 minus 45.5 will be 0.5 by 46. And if you calculate this, it will come somewhere around 1.068, 1.086 like that. Let me check once. 0.5 by 45.5, 0.5 by 46 is 0.1086. When multiplied by 100 is 1.086. It should have been 1.086, but anyhow, this is the closest option because this all are wrong. So the most appropriate option is option 2. All right. So we have completed 100 questions, and see you in the next video. Bye. So hello everyone, welcome back to the continued coverage of ICAR JRF 2023 Physical Science question paper. So let's dive right into the question. The process of self-purification of polluted waters can be noted by the. This is also a classic example of why you should read all the 4 options, because this is also correct, this is correct, and this is correct. whereas option 4 contains all of the three. So option 4 is the correct option, but they have not given it like all of this. So you should be very careful and read all the options twice and double check everything. All right. So the correct answer to this question will be option 4. Moving on. Arrange the following atmospheric gases in terms of increasing global warming potential. So what is global warming potential or GWP? It is nothing but the measure of capability of a gas to produce global warming. All right. For this scale, for this GWP, we take the global warming potential of carbon dioxide as 1. So carbon dioxide is taken as the base. And related to carbon dioxide, relative to carbon dioxide, we calculate the GWP of all the other gases. So you have to know this. You have to know the values, or you have to know the global warming potential of each of the gas. And here, the global warming potential of methane in a 100-year time scale is 100-year time scale is 25, whereas for N2O it is around 273, and for SF6 sulfur hexafluoride it is around 23,500. So what does it mean? It means that 1 ton of N2O has 273 times more global warming capability than same amount of CO2. All right. So 1 ton of CO2 will produce a certain amount of global warming, whereas 1 ton of N2O will produce 273 times higher global warming than the same volume or same amount of CO2. All right. So in terms of increasing global warming potential, so we have to put it from low to high. All right. So for this reason, the first one will be CO2, of course, because it is 1. And C after that will be methane, A, and after that will be nitrous oxide, and finally it will be sulfur hexafluoride. So option 1 will be the absolutely correct option. All right. Moving on. The soil hydraulic head is expressed by, this is also a very common question that is asked almost every alternate year. So this question you can find in this has been asked straight from the soil water chapter of old ISSS, new ISSS, any ISSS you open, you will find exactly this. So potential energy per unit mass of soil water is mgh by m, that is equal to gh. Potential energy per unit volume of soil water will be m by rho, that will be equal to rho gh. Potential energy per unit weight of soil water will be mgh by mg, that is equal to h. So this is the hydraulic head. And height of standing water on the soil surface, that is not the hydraulic head. All right. Height of standing water on the soil surface is the height of the water column, but that cannot be said as the soil hydraulic head. Soil hydraulic head is h, this h. All right. So the correct option will be only C. C only. All right. 4 is the correct option. Moving on. Arrange the following amino acids on the basis of their increasing side chain size. This is another question from biomolecules, which I put a lot of emphasis on, because biomolecules will fetch at least 2 to 3 questions minimum every year. And if you are fortunate or unfortunate enough, you can get maybe 10 to 12 questions as well. So here they have asked to arrange the following amino acids on the basis of their increasing side chain size. So increasing means from low to high, we know glycine is the simple amino acid. So glycine will be the first. After that it will be alanine. After that it will be leucine, and finally it will be isoleucine, because we know iso means it is branched. So the highest side chain size among all the 4 amino acids will be isoleucine. So C will be at the last. Before that will be leucine. Before that will be alanine, and the least one will be glycine. So option 3 is the correct option. All right, let's move on. Sequence the steps for georeferencing a map in QGIS. QGIS is Quantum Geographic Information System. QGIS is a software that is not a free software as far as I remember. ArcGIS is free, but QGIS, is QGIS a free software? Let's check. Is QGIS free? Okay, yes, QGIS is absolutely free to use. You can see the full form, Quantum Geographic Information System, and it is free to use, and it is not a trial version or limited edition. It is free of charge and will always remain free. It should be downloaded from qgis.org. All right, that's good news. So we have to sequence the steps for georeferencing a map, and this one you should know. You should have either you should have used the software by yourself, or you should know the steps. There is no other way, no other concept that you can put for this question. So the correct answer of this will be option 4. That means first it will be C. You have to open the map that you want to georeference. This is kind of conceptual because first you need to open the map for whatever purpose you do, whatever you want to do, and after that it will be, you should open the image to be georeferenced, and then you should find the ground control points, and then you should select the transformation type between the map and the image. All right, so option 4 is the correct option. Let's move on. So again, assets and reasoning type of question from soil organic matter. This is a very easy one. Humic acids are more resistant than fulvic acid. Everyone knows that. This is a true statement. Whereas humic acids have low molecular weight, this is wrong. Humic acid is having high molecular weight than fulvic acid, and simple structure, this is also wrong. So reason is straight away wrong, whereas assertion is correct. So the correct answer will be option 3. A is true, but R is totally false. All right. So you have to arrange the minerals in the order of decreasing weathering index. The weathering index, as you know, was given by Jackson in 1964. So you have to remember the weathering index, you have to remember the values, and you can find it in the IEEE's book, the old edition one, in the pedology section, or also you can find it in JL Segal's pedology book also. So you should remember out of these 4 minerals, the highest one is kaolinite. So kaolinite will of course come first, and we think we have already got our answer. That is A. You should remember the weathering index values as well. If I am going to tell you the values, I'm going to write it in the side of all the minerals. Yes, I think I have got it. Kaolinite is having 10. Montmorillonite is having 9. Then vermiculite is having 8. And mica, mica might contain muscovite or biotite, and biotite is having 4. So mica can be 4, or if we consider muscovite, it can be 7, and 10 angstrom mica, that is also 7. So overall average we can take it as 7 only. So we can see they have asked the 4 consecutive mineral names, as you can see 7, 8, 9, 10, and so it will be 10, 9, 8, 7 will be the sequence. All right. So A, B, C, D, option 1 is the correct option. All right, let's move on. The capillary rise in soil with average pore radius is related as. This is a very easy question from soil water section, and I think you should definitely remember it. And it actually is derived from the Laplace equation, that is the height capillary rise that is related to 2 gamma cos theta by rho into r into g. All right, where this gamma is the surface tension, this cos theta is the theta angle of the contact angle, rho is the density of water, r is the radius of the capillary tube, and g is the gravitational acceleration. So except r and h, if you put in all the values, because all the values are known, cos theta, since theta is very close to 0 degree, we will take cos theta as 1. So the cos theta term gets eliminated, and we know the value of surface tension of water at the particular temperature. It is around 72.79 per centimeter square. So if we put all the values, we will get a very simple relation, that will be h is equal to 0.3 by d. All right, this d is the diameter. Here you can see in the question they have asked for r. So r is the radius. So what to do? Diameter is nothing but 2 into radius. All right. So h into r, as you can see in the question, they have asked h into r is equal to 0.3 by 2, which will be equal to 0.15. All right. So hr is equal to 0.15. Option 1 is the correct option. The equation from which it is derived is the Laplace equation or Young-Laplace equation. All right. Let's move on. Well, this was another controversial question. As far as I remember, there was a lot of controversy about what is the correct answer, but we will go by with the answer provided by the National Testing Agency in their final answer key. So here you can see totally correct statement is activation energy of a reaction is lowered by enzymes. This is totally correct. There is no doubt about it. And also interaction between enzyme and substrates are hydrogen ionic and hydrophobic bonds. This is also totally correct. There is no doubt about it. Substrate concentration does not affect the rate of enzyme catalyzed reaction. This is wrong. So this is false. But this first statement, this statement is kind of vague. It is kind of like you cannot say for sure that this statement is wrong, because sometimes it might enhance the reaction rate by a factor of 2, and they have given such a huge range from 2 to 10. You can never say by for sure that this is wrong. Sometimes without enzyme a process might take 9 to 10 hours, whereas with the enzyme, with the catalyst, it might take a few minutes. So this statement is also wrong, we can say, saying the answer key, but still this was a vague statement. But more appropriate in these situations where there is a problem, where there is a confusion about the answer, you should go for the most appropriate answer. All right. It essentially does not need to be the correct answer, because the correct answer might not be in the options. So most appropriate approach you should take, and you should go for the most appropriate answer. Considering all the statements, B and C is totally correct, and there is no confusion about it. You can find it in any standard textbooks. You can find it in NCERT also. So B and C are definitely correct. So we will go with the option 2, saying B and C, whereas A is also something that is might be considered correct, but all right, we will not delve into controversy and we'll move on to the next question. So this question is from land capability classification and their respective corresponding colors. So we know class 1 is denoted by green. So D is 1 and there is only one option with D1. So we have already got our correct answer, that is 2. For this question, there is no concept, there is nothing involved. You just have to memorize all the colors from the standard textbook, preferably from ISSS, Indian Society of Soil Science textbook. In the new version, you will find the colors, and you should definitely check it for all type of competitive exams, as this one is a very, very common and very popular question, mostly asked by the examiners. So it will be A2, B4, C3, and D1. All right, let's move on. Arrange the soil in the decreasing order of soil wetness. We have already solved a similar kind of question in this session only, and also the last session of 2024 recap. This is also from soil consistency, as you can see, and the water content of soil at various moisture contents, like the consistency of the soil at various moisture contents. So we have to do it in the decreasing order of soil wetness. That means from high to low. Whichever is having the highest water content will put first, and the lowest water content will come at last. So among these four, which one is the highest according to you? Of course, there is no doubt about it. It will be B. Very plastic is the having the most moisture. After that, it will be A. Of course, it will be A, friable or firm. After that, it will be hard or harsh. And finally, it will be inundated. Sorry, indurated. I think there is a mistake with the word. It should be indurated, like totally free of water. There is nothing, not even a single morsel of water present there. So the answer will be B, A, C, D. And option 3 is going to be the correct option. Still, we'll check it since the indurated term is a bit new. 591 is option 3, and we are correct. All right. So indurated, this term you will not find in the books, but you can use your knowledge of English language and you can solve this question. However, the most water containing is very plastic, and after that it is friable or firm. That was completely sure. And with that only you can see that option 3 is going to be the correct answer. All right. Moving on. Arrange the following soil texture with decreasing field capacity water content. All right. So decreasing field capacity water content means at field capacity at minus 0.33 bar, at minus 1 by 3 bar, what is the amount of moisture or the volumetric water content present in the soil? It will differ from soil to soil, all right, because at minus 1 by 3 bar, the amount of water present in a clay soil is much more than the amount of water present in a sandy soil at the same suction, right? Because the water holding capacity of clay is much higher. So you have to arrange the following soil texture with decreasing field capacity water content. This is a very good question. You have to use your concept. So decreasing means, again, we have to do it from high to low. So we know the highest will be, of course, clay soil. And after that, it will be clay loam. After that, it will be silt loam. Then it will be sand loam. And finally, it will be sandy soil, which will be having the lowest water content. So D, E, C, A, B is our correct answer, and option 4 we can mark and move on. So here we have to match the soil type along with their corresponding bulk density. All right, we know that peat or organic soil is having the lowest bulk density, and that is around 0.5. Then fine textured soil has lower bulk density because of presence of more number of micropores and total porosity that reduces the that increases the total volume of soil. We know BD is equal to mass of the soil solids divided by total volume of the soil. This total volume portion increases in case of fine textured soils because the total porosity is higher and number of micropores is also higher. That is why BD gets decreased. So here 1.1 to 1.4 will be fine textured soil, whereas coarse textured soil has 1.4 to 1.75, and compact soil will have the highest bulk density because due to compaction, due to pressure, this volume gets decreased. All right. So since BD is equal to mass by volume, this volume will get decreased and this BD will get increased. All right. So compact soil will have 2. So A4, B1, C2 and D3. All right. Option 1 will be the correct option. Moving on, another true false type question. Alluvial soils are the largest group of soils in India. That is absolutely true. The largest soil water found in India is in septisols. That is alluvial soil only. And in world also, the largest soil water that is found is antisol, that is also alluvial soil. So alluvial soils are the largest group of soils in India. That is true, mostly found in the IGP, that is Indo-Gangetic Plain. Fine. Second statement says alluvial soils are rich in nitrogen. That is wrong. That is not rich in nitrogen but deficient in potassium. This is also wrong. It is almost sufficient in potassium, but it is deficient in nitrogen because alluvial soils, you know, these are soils found by sediments brought down by the rivers from the mountains, and nitrogen content of a soil depends mostly on the organic matter. So since organic matter is not involved in the process of formation of alluvial soil, it is only added later on. So the physical condition of alluvial soil may be good, but nitrogen content is poor. It can never be rich in nitrogen. So statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is incorrect. Option 3 is the correct answer. You should carefully read the options and see where they say what is correct and what is incorrect. All right. Moving on. Which of the following group of compounds is produced by Streptomyces hygroscopicus? We know that these are the bacteria producing actinomycetes, the Streptomyces genera. And Streptomyces, whichever antibiotic they produce will have a mycin at their end, mostly streptomycin, azithromycin, whatever it might be. So here, even if you don't know the proper answer, with your common sense, with your intuition, you can say that option 4 is having the correct option, milbemycin. Whereas if there were more than one option having the word mycin in it, then you must know the answer. Otherwise, for this kind of questions, it is better to leave and move on, because otherwise you will get a negative marking. So that is not desirable at all. So the correct answer to this question is option 4. All right, moving on. So another match the following. This is from cell biology and genetics as far as I can see. So this is a very easy one. There will be no problem with that. DNA that is found at the end of the linear eukaryotic chromosome is telomere. All right, there is no problem about it. So we have already got our answer, but still we will check the other options. Not a problem. Protein structure on eukaryotic chromosomes where spindle fiber attaches is the kinetochore, and centromere is the DNA site where kinetochores are found. In the centromere, there are kinetochores, and kinetochores are the structure on which eukaryotic chromosomes where spindle fiber attaches. Kinetochore is the protein structure on eukaryotic chromosomes where the spindle fiber attaches, and kinetochores are found in centromere. And finally, DNA sequence that serves as the template for synthesis and application is called nucleolar organizer. All right. So option 2, A2, B4, C1 and D3 is the correct answer. All right, moving on. When the benzene ring is a substitution in a molecule, it is known as, this is a very good question from organic chemistry of say 12th standard. You should know it. You cannot use your concept or anything for this question. You have to know the answer, and the answer is phenyl group. All right, not phenol. Phenol is this particular compound. This particular compound is called phenol. But they are asking when the benzene ring is a substitution in a molecule. Say there was some other alkanes which has been substituted by a benzene group. All right, then that is called a phenyl. That group is called the phenyl group. Okay, phenol is not a group. Phenol is the name of this compound. So imidazole and prosthetic is also not there. Phenyl will be the correct answer. All right. Do not forget this. If this question is repeated, you can mark and move on. When benzene ring is a substitution, it is called phenyl. All right. So we are almost in the last portion. This is a match the following where you have to, where various things are given. You just have to match. There is no specific theme for this question. So we will start with the easiest one. We know double helical DNA was given by Watson and Crick. So everyone knows this. This is the basic general agriculture question. Then enantiomers are nothing but optical isomers. This is also done. And finally, secondary amino group. It can be found in proline, and N-hexadecanoic acid is also called palmitic acid. So even if you don't know these two, you can get the correct option by seeing here. D is 4 and C is 1. There is only one option like that. So option 4 will be the correct option. So let's move on. We are in the penultimate question, the second last question. Assertion reasoning from the Munsell color chart or soil color portion. The notation of Munsell color chart is 2.5 YR 5/6. This is absolutely true statement. The notation is written like this only. This is because hue is 2.5 YR. This is hue. All right. This is value and this is chroma. So 2.5 YR is hue, value is 5, chroma is 6. This is also true. And they correctly asserts one another. The reason is the correct explanation of A. So option 1 is the correct answer and the proper answer. No doubt about it. And that brings us to our last question, where here you can see the surface tension of water is very high, 72.7 dynes per centimeter. I was just telling it before in that question of capillary rise, and surface tension of water is very high, true. 72.7 dynes per centimeter is a true value compared to other liquids. This is also true. So this statement is true. And reason is high attraction of water molecules for each other is because of hydrogen bond. Yes, of course. because water has the unique property of hydrogen bonding between its molecules. That is why it has got high surface tension and various other properties like higher density in the liquid phase at 4 degrees Celsius. So high attraction of water molecules for each other is because of H bond that results in high surface tension. This is also correct, and this is a correct explanation of the assertion statement. So option 1 is the correct option. All right, so we have successfully completed the 2023 JRF physical science question that happened on 9th July. Actually, was a problem. There was a second examination happened due to a leak incident in Bihar, and there was another set on 14th July. But this was the original set that happened in 9th July, in which I also gave the exam. So I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next video. Goodbye.